Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 122 of the show, and before we get started, we're going to do a bit of house cleaning real quick because, well, you know, we always like to do house cleaning around here, so we're going to do it. Obviously, I've done, physical house cleaning, as you can tell. I've definitely done some physical house cleaning around here, so, you know, it is nice. I'm not going to lie, because now I pretty much have my own room to myself. But I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys keep coming back and listening to these episodes, that you constantly keep downloading them, you keep sharing them, you know, that you keep liking them, disliking them if you watch on YouTube, and obviously, you know, downloading them and listening to them and sharing them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to stuff. Basically my podcast, because, you know, I know you guys listen to other stuff, so it is nice that you guys at least take time out of your day to listen to my show or watch my show, because it really means a lot to me, and I do put a lot of effort into, you know, doing this stuff. Especially because, this is just me, I'd say just having a little bit of conversation to start off. I just remember how I started off, where I was very stiff. I was very, stiff. I was following a heavy script. And as time went on, I learned to be more, free floating. I learned to have basic bulletin points in my head, but I'm not really relying so much on a heavy script to say, this is what you need to talk about. You need to talk about this. It's allowing me to be a little bit more free flowing in the conversations. If that's what I'm just saying, it allows me to be a little bit more free, a little bit more, not so stiff, but I do want to thank you guys for coming back and listening. It really means a lot to me. Thank you to my Patreon backers for supporting me. It really means a lot to me. I love you guys to death. And if you want to become a Patreon backer, you can go to the link down below and you can become a Patreon backer for $2 a month and get early access to the new episodes. Because that's so far the main benefit I got for the Patreon backers until I make a little bit more incentive to become a Patreon backer. But I do want to say that you guys continue to be awesome, and let's get right into today's episode. So we're going to be talking about the Pixel 4a today, because this, obviously, the Instagram peeps, they voted on the poll and they decided to go with the Pixel 4a over the Galaxy Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra. And it makes sense because a lot of people really like the Pixel 4a, but there's a lot of people that dislike the Pixel 4a, and we're going to be talking about why. I'm not going to be focusing on specs, because if you want to focus on specs, you can go to somewhere else and, get a spec rundown. I'd rather have a conversation about the whole idea behind the Pixel 4a and a lot of the criticisms people have had. And I know a lot of other YouTubers have had these discussions where they just felt the Pixel 4a might have been a bit overpriced. Some people are saying it's the best value you can get for $350. And I'm more on the lines of, I agree that it's the best value for $350, but I also acknowledge that it's not perfect. It does have flaws, and we're going to be talking about that. So, as I've stated, the Pixel 4a starts at $349. And for the value, I think it's great. The fact that you're getting an incredible camera for the price, you're getting great software for 3 years of updates, guaranteed, because it's straight from Google. You're getting clean software. Yes, it doesn't have the best hardware. I'm not going to lie. Yes, it has 6 gigs of RAM. It caps at 120 gigs of storage, which I think that's actually good. But it's not the best. I get it. A lot of people in the budget range prefer having expandable storage. I don't see why they would expect they want high-end processors in budget phones, which is kind of funny because in this price range, it is competing with a phone with a high-end processor. It's competing with the iPhone SE. And that phone, while I do say it is the best iPhone you can buy right now for $400, well, I'd say just in general, it is the best option iPhone you can get right now. But I understand that it's still not perfect. And the same thing applies for the Pixel 4a, that this is not a perfect phone. there's still flaws. And a lot of those flaws I agree with, because I've seen firsthand experience with the Pixel 3a. I've seen how it does slow down a bit. I've seen why people say the Pixel phones in general over time slow down, which makes sense. Like, it's kind of a concern, and I get why people have this concern. And I know that I can say, look, I haven't seen it slow down personally, so I can't say that it's slowed down, but I'm like, well, just because I haven't experienced something doesn't mean it isn't an issue. Because I got into a little bit of a debate with somebody on Twitter, because you know me, like, you guys know me very well. Like, I don't like to keep my mouth shut when something just doesn't sound right. And it was interesting because we were having a discussion or a debate, how this person's like, well, I haven't experienced this issue. People that I know in real life haven't experienced this issue. And the limited people that I've talked to online haven't experienced this issue. So that means it's not an issue. And that is false, because that's not accurate. That's not, you get what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. Just because you haven't experienced an issue doesn't mean it is an issue. Just because I haven't experienced a Pixel 3a slowing down doesn't mean that it wasn't an issue. Just because I had a Pixel 2 XL and it didn't slow down on me, which, even though to be honest, I think it did, but maybe I just didn't catch it. But just because it hadn't slowed down on me doesn't mean that it wasn't an issue. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't say that. Like, you can't use that excuse and pretend that it just works in a valid argument where you're trying to be objective, because then that's not objective. Objectivity is acknowledging every side and figuring out, okay, what is the truth? We take both of these stories, put them together, and there's going to be some truth in there. So we're going to figure out what the truth is. And the truth is, yes, these phones can slow down. That's just a cold, hard fact. It can. Does it mean that it will happen to you? Maybe, maybe not. But we have to acknowledge that this is an issue. And we honestly can't say that about the Pixel 4a right now, and to make these claims saying that it will, because it hasn't been out long enough to dictate that they will slow down. So I'm like, we can't say that. Yes, it has more RAM than the 3a. It has a better processor than the 3a. So I personally don't believe it will slow down. I get why a lot of people say it's very sluggish, because yes, it's using a 1080p 60 display. And people nowadays are used to higher refresh rates. They're used to 90 hertz or 120, specifically the tech nerds. But I guarantee you, if you put this in the hands of somebody that's like a normal consumer, which, like I said, this is who this phone is for, it doesn't really matter, because they don't care. They don't care about these high-end features. Most consumers, being dead serious, most consumers are sticking at the affordable option range, because that is who like buys phones the most. It's just the cold, hard fact reality, whether you want to accept it or not. Those of us that buy high-end smartphones are not the majority. We are a very, very small minority, and we have to be honest with ourselves and realize, look, we are small. Like, put it like this. We are very loud and vocal, but we are the minority. The majority is very quiet, but they're also the ones that spend more money than us, because they're the ones buying in larger quantities. They're the ones that are buying more than we do. And that's something that we just have to be honest with ourselves about, because the affordable range is very competitive. And I agree with a lot of colleagues that, yes, this is a very competitive range, because you have a lot of great options. But to say that the Pixel 4a does not really hold a candle in this range is I'd say it's very nearsighted. It comes off as you not being well educated on how the market works, because competition breeds excellence. That's what happens. When you have competition, the consumer wins in the end. And this phone makes a very strong argument to be in this price range. And it's okay if you don't agree with me, but the numbers will say otherwise. You got what I mean, is like, the facts don't care about your feelings. And that's just the cold hard truth in this scenario, is we are dealing with a phone that, yes, for its price range, it's doing pretty well for itself. It's competing with the iPhone SE. It's competing with the OnePlus Nord. Granted, the OnePlus Nord won't come to the US market. It just won't. It's stuck in overseas. And then so now it's just the Pixel 4a competing with the iPhone SE. And then it just becomes a debate of, what do you prefer? Do you prefer iOS over Android? Do you prefer the better video quality on the iPhone compared to the Pixel? Do you prefer the better stills on the Pixel than the iPhone? Like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the better raw performance of the iPhone over the Pixel. And when you look at the value that the Pixel 4a offers, I recommend it to a lot of people. I personally would. And that's just the cold, hard reality is a lot of people don't care about, the fastest processor. They don't care about like high-end refresh rates. They really don't. They just want a phone that works, that's able to do phone calls, that's able to do text messages, that's able to watch YouTube, that's able to take great pictures. And the Pixel 4a honestly fits the mold perfectly with no issue. And it's $350. It doesn't break the bank. The fact that you get an amazing camera, you get average video, which, like I said, photography is a little bit more important than video most of the time. But you get clean software. You get a good battery, because that's kind of the benefit with using a lower processor is you do get better battery life, because it's more power efficient. It's not so power hungry, so it's not able to stress the battery so much. The fact that it has more RAM than the 3A means that it's going to be a little bit smoother. The fact that it starts at 120 gigs of storage as well is much better, because the iPhone starts at 64 gigs of storage for $400 basically at $399, and the Pixel 4a starts at, it's only one model, it's just 128, that's it, for $350. And I think that's actually really good. So you're really comparing, what do you prefer at that point? That's what you're doing. Now, one thing we also have to be mindful of is that Google did announce that there is going to be a Pixel 4a 5G and the Pixel 5. They showed that it will be coming, and that information will be revealed shortly, later down whenever they decide they want to. But in my opinion, I think it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't personally know how to feel about it. Like, I would say if you care about 5G, you could wait. But I also understand why people are saying 5G should be in smartphones nowadays, because think about it, the new iPhones are coming out with 5G. You have all modern Android smartphones have 5G now. And as a result, it's also raising the prices, but it makes sense why 5G is a thing, Like, it makes sense. And I personally believe that I personally think we should wait and see. Like, if it is truly $100 difference, then we start talking about a different ball game, because then the Pixel 4a 5G, it might be a bit hard to debate if it's worth it over the iPhone SE, mainly because, say it is $100 more expensive than the regular Pixel 4a, so then it ends up being $450 versus $400. And then it's just like, is the extra $50 worth 5G, and a lot of people at that price range don't really care. Even though, yes, I get how a lot of people say, yes, if you have T-Mobile, Metro, that it's built into your plan, so you don't have to buy a 5G plan, so it's just built in naturally because it's on the towers, which at that point, okay, I would say, yeah, it makes sense. But like I said, we don't know what the Pixel 4a 5G, we don't even know if it's going to use the exact same internals, which it probably won't, because it's going to have a better chipset to handle the 5G. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a better value, but we have to see. We don't know anything about it, because I primarily want to focus on the Pixel 4a. And if you are somebody that's in the market for a new phone, and you're somebody that doesn't really see the benefits of buying the high end because you're just not that kind of user, but I would also say if you're somebody that doesn't really care about those super high end features, because a lot of people really don't. I'm just being dead serious with you. A lot of people really don't give a crap about those features. I'm just being honest with you. A lot of people really don't. And that's fair. A lot of people don't. Like, people that buy iPhones, they don't really care about having all the fancy features that we get on Android. They don't. Like, yes, is iOS adding new features that are already considered old on Android? Yes, but now they care because, hey, it's well refined, and they just like quality of life improvements, because that's what it is. And in my opinion, I'd say if you're somebody that's looking for a new budget phone, I would say buy the Pixel 4a. It's the best value you can get in the Android space, even though I know a lot of people say, well, I can buy this cheap $250 phone that has better specs and it's a better phone. I'm like, yeah, that phone isn't going to get software updates past a year, bud. And I highly doubt I would trust that phone with my life. Granted, that's also me. Like, I also say, like, if you're comparing the $250 smartphone to the Pixel 4a at $350, the $100 difference for a far better camera, a better software experience. That's just objectively speaking, it is a better software experience because it's straight from Google. You're going to get updates straight from them. You're going to get security patches straight from them because you get them first before anybody else. You get all the Google features like the built-in assistant that's able to work locally and not just over the internet. You get a lot of other features that come with owning a Google phone. Now, granted, I know a lot of people say you can install Gcam on a phone and get just as good quality with the because I know a lot of people say the Pixel phones don't really rely on hardware, it's mostly software. But I'm like, you have to keep in mind that yes, it is using software. It is software, but it's also using a hardware chip that goes with them to fully maximize the quality. Yes, you can put the Gcam app on your phone and get good quality stills out of them. That doesn't mean that it's gonna exactly work like a Pixel or better. You get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. Like, yes, you will get better qualities because you're using the Google software, using the Gcam, and it's able to get better dynamic range and things like that. But that doesn't mean it's going to work exactly the way you want it to. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of features that are still limited because Google doesn't want to share them, which makes sense. You have to give incentives to buy your phone. Like, when your phone has great cameras, mainly because of software and also because of a special hardware chip, I don't really see the reason why you would want to put this into other things. You know? But in my opinion, I see the Pixel 4a as a good addition to the budget space. I think for a lot of people, this should be an easy pickup. Yes, I get it. Google doesn't really make a ton of money off the Pixel phones. That's just being honest. They really don't make a ton of money off these phones. But if I'm being honest, they still do well. Like, they're like the Pixel 3a sold like hotcakes when it came out. Like, it did. It sold like hotcakes. And I don't see why the Pixel 4a wouldn't do the same, especially given the whole situation of the world right now, where a lot of people are kind of being a bit more mindful of spending money. Unless if they just generally have money to spend, then okay. But a lot of people will probably gravitate towards this because when you go into a Target, you're going to see the Pixel phones. You go into a Best Buy, you're going to see them there. Granted, yes, does it have the same name brand as an iPhone, as a Samsung? No, it doesn't. Let's just be honest. The Pixel brand is not going to be able to compete with the iPhone. Like, it just won't. In terms of brand versus brand, no. The iPhone, like, has its own, like, place in the market. Like, you're not going to be able to outdo the iPhone in terms of clout, you know, or, like, pull. You're just not. But I will say that it is a very impressive phone for the money. For $350, I don't really see another smartphone better than it at $350. It's a very competitive option that holds its place in the market. And if you're somebody that's looking for, say, your first Android phone, or you're just looking for an easy upgrade, or you're just looking for a new phone, say, maybe to get to your kids for their first phone, or say, you know, you just need an extra phone as a backup, but you just want a good camera and good software, then I would just get the Pixel 4a. If you're somebody that, say, has an iPhone but they want to try Android, I would say starting with the Pixel 4a is a great option because it makes logical sense. It's straight from Google. It's going to work clean. It's going to be similar to an iPhone, but it's just not. And you get a lot of good features with it because a lot of people that use Pixel phones, yes, they may not be the majority in terms of Android users, but a lot of people still enjoy those experiences. That people that generally use them every single day, they like using those phones because they like the features that come straight from Google, that Google bakes into these phones to make them unique and stick out. And that's just the cold, hard reality in regards to that. You know, like, I can't say that this phone is going to slow down. I can't say that this phone isn't worth it because I can't determine what's worth it for you. I can only say based on what I see for the monies, you know, I'm quoting Juan here because I know he likes to say that, but for $350, it's a great buy, to be honest. I'm just being objectively honest with you. It is. I'm not shilling for Google. I'm not paid by Google. You know, like, I don't even have a Pixel anymore. Like, I have an S20 Ultra. Like, I did own a Pixel and I love that experience because of the camera, but I don't have any stake to say that Google, you should just go out and buy it and Google is better than everyone. No, because I know this phone isn't perfect. I know it has its flaws. I'm just being honest with y'all. I know it's not perfect. I know there's going to be some hiccups coming here and there. I know that will happen. But I'm saying for $350, it's a good buy. I just don't see the arguments that say that it's not a good buy at $350 as valid, because it doesn't make much sense, because you're trying to compare situations that you can't really compare, like a $250 smartphone versus a $350 smartphone. And yes, I get people say like the Poco had all these amazing software specs inside of it. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't have clean software. It died after a year after using it, because it just, well, in terms of software support, not like physically died, but it just didn't make much sense. And even when you put Gcam on it, it gives it a better camera, but even then it's like you have to go through all these steps to like install it, and you have to, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, if you have to use a software to make your camera better, or at least equivalent to what is being competed with or what you're comparing it to, you get what I'm saying? Like, you're having to do this to get this. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather have this out of the box, have clean software for 3 years guaranteed with no questions asked, and move on. That's well worth spending the extra money, But that's just my opinion on the matter. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you're watching on YouTube, like, do you think that the Pixel 4a is a good buy? Do you even care about the Pixel 4a? Are you planning on buying a Pixel 4a? Did you already buy one? Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about this phone? And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to your podcast, you can let me know in the comments, or really you can just hit me up like on Instagram or Snapchat or wherever you like to find your ways to contact me on social media, and let me know what you guys think about the matter. But I love you guys to death. Please continue to be safe. I'm only doing one episode this week, mainly because of everything going on. Like I said, because of my job, I have a lot of responsibilities that I have to do, like a lot of meetings. I have to run the desk and things like that. So we're going to see how we can balance this out. Whenever I have a free week, I'm able to do an episode on Friday, but this Friday there will be no other episode. So this is the only episode y'all are going to get for this week. But that doesn't mean I don't want you guys to be safe. Please take care of yourselves. Please continue to take care of everyone around you. Be mindful of everything going on. Don't just be oblivious and just say, oh, I don't care. Like, please be mindful, because you don't know, you don't know who you're around. Like, you just don't know everything. Just be honest with yourselves. It's okay that you don't know everything. It's 100% okay. You're not supposed to know everything. But please just be mindful and safe when you're out and about, because I can't tell you guys not to stay indoors. Like, I can't tell you guys to stay indoors and not go out, because, we're humans. We need to go out. We need to stretch. We need to do these things, because there's a lot of things we still have to do. Because just because the world's kind of going to shit right now doesn't mean there's still not things that need to be done. But please be safe while you're doing those things. Please be safe, guys. I love you guys to death. And again, I will say this. I know I'm in a dorm. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on in the background, so I hope you guys forgive me for that. But I love you guys to death. Please continue to be safe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys. Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.